It may be too early to look at the standings, but the Rangers just did something they haven't done in 2.5 years.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Paddock, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 13 seasons, including all 8 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. By the way, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Paddock. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. On this show, I'm talking about the Rangers doing something they have not done in 2.5 years, a get-right day for Evo. The Rangers pretty much officially having a certified closer who can get the job done, and just how important this series win was against the Mariners. Before we get into all of that, let's talk about Nathan Eovaldi, because this was a huge start for Nathan Eovaldi. This was a get-right game for Evo, who the first couple of starts, well, the swing and miss stuff had been there, and I think he got a little unlucky in that first start, just giving up all of his runs on 2 home runs that maybe on a different day at a different ballpark would not have been home runs. But in that game against the Baltimore Orioles, he looked just off, just looked bad, honestly. Not very Nathan Eovaldi like. He still was getting some swings and misses, but the command of his stuff was not really anywhere near even the control really of his stuff was not really there. And this game was very much a get right game. And I posted on Twitter and Blue Sky saying, wow, because the first pitch of the game, giving up a home run after you've had 2 rough starts is no sugarcoating it. It's a crappy way to start a baseball game, especially a massively important baseball game early on in the season against your division rival, who right now is not doing particularly well. And you really need to jump on that when you play these teams. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you play these teams, because they all count the same at the end of the year. If the Rangers had won just a few more games here and there early on in the season, 2025, maybe they'd be a little bit more in it, and maybe have made it to the postseason with that amazing pitching staff and could have gone somewhere. Alas, they didn't. Maybe if they had not, struggled so much in, August or the middle part of 2024, maybe this team would have made the postseason or at least had a winning record that year. But they didn't. And so you need to take advantage early on in the season when you are playing these teams, especially when the team you are going to be chasing down in the standings, or you at least have been chasing down in the standings the last couple of years, is struggling. You need to kick them while they are down. Now, normally I do not advise kicking people when they are down, but when it's a baseball team and when it's your hated rival Seattle Mariners, please, by all means, kick them when they are down, and do not stop kicking them until they are so far out of the standings that you cannot see them without using a telescope. That is the way you need to treat all of these massive AL West games. Now, I don't feel necessarily the same way about the Angels, because the Angels have not made the postseason in many, many moons. I believe I was in college the last time they made the postseason, and Mike Trout was still in his prime, and Shohei Ohtani was not even an Angel at that point. That's how long it's been. So teams like them, teams like the A's, who are more in that serious consideration as, contender, at least contender adjacent to compete for an AL West championship. But these teams, like the Mariners, like the Astros, it doesn't matter when you play them this season. You have got to kick them while they're down, because the Rangers, especially Seattle, the Rangers have been awful against Seattle the last couple of seasons. They've been 3-10 against the Mariners, both last year and the year before. They have not won a single regular season series against the Seattle Mariners since September of 2023. No, not that final series against Seattle, where the Rangers split a 4-game set to clinch the postseason on the final day of, or next to last day of the season, and lose the AL West on the last day of the season. They lost that 4-game series. They won 1 game in that 4-game series. So it has been many, many series. One day I will learn how to say the word series properly. I know it's just series, but it just doesn't it doesn't seem like it fits. But 4 series, though each of the last couple of years, the Rangers have lost in 2024. So starting with that away series, that 4-game series, the Rangers have lost 9 straight series against the Seattle Mariners. 9 straight. Even the 4-game sets, they have lost all of those. They have not split some of these sets. They have lost 9 straight series against the Seattle Mariners. There was that series in Seattle to end 2023. Rangers ended up winning it all. It doesn't really matter at that point. But in 2024, they start off April 23rd through 25th at home. Loss, win, loss. Away, June 14th through 16th in 2024. That was a straight sweep in Seattle. Then away September 12th through 15th. They win the first game and then lose the next 3. And then at home, September 20th through 22nd that year, loss, win. In 2025, started off strong with a straight sweep on the road against Seattle. Then they lost the first 2 at home, May 2nd through 4th, then salvaged the final game of that series at home, June 27th through 29th, loss, win, loss, and then away in what was one of the more maddening series losses right after the trade deadline, after the Rangers made all these acquisitions and just had an awful road trip to end July and to start August. Loss, win, loss. They have lost so many games to the Seattle Mariners that was kind of the difference, and them being a postseason team and not a postseason team last year, or at least a huge difference, because you go 3-10 against a team that ends up making the postseason. Had they switched that around and gone 10-3, that would have been an 88-win team. That would have made the Mariners a 85-win team, I believe, if my math is mathing correctly. Maybe even an 83-win team if the Rangers switch that up. Maybe 86. My math is not mathing very good right now, but that is a significant difference. That would have been, 8 games difference in the standings, which I think was right around how far out of first place in the AL West the Rangers finished. Maybe 9. So maybe not quite the difference, but a huge difference in this team being a postseason team and not being a postseason team. And the Rangers, it didn't matter how well they were doing when they faced the Mariners the last couple of years. They have just found ways to trip over themselves, to shoot themselves in the foot, and just not get the job done. But Nathan Eovaldi on the hill gets the job done. Just so many swings and misses. 22 swings and misses, the most for any Texas Ranger this season. Just ahead of Jack Leiter's 21 whiff performance in his first outing of the season. This was a dominant performance for Nathan Eovaldi. And what was working? Of course, it was the freaking splitter. 8 whiffs on 20 swings, and the cutter was just straight up diabolical, using it almost exclusively against left-handed hitters, once against righties, and then 21 times against lefties. 8 whiffs on 11 swing attempts. Just an absurd 73% whiff rate, where, if you're getting a 50% whiff rate, that's unheard of. That is exceptional. You get a 73% whiff rate on a cutter, not a pitch that is normally a swing and miss pitch. That is the recipe for a very, very successful day. Didn't really use the four-seamer all that much. Didn't really use the sinker all that much. Just threw one slider. This is a very lefty-heavy lineup, or at least significantly more lefty-heavy, or at least platoon-ish, platoon-adjacent, platoonable. There we go. That's the word that I'm looking for, than it had been in seasons past. But this is a decent Mariners lineup. They're not doing well right now. And so credit to Nathan Eovaldi for buckling down, for locking down. And after that solo shot of just not really allowing that many base runners, getting swing and miss after swing and miss after swing and miss. This is a team that will chase and will whiff quite a bit if you let them, if you have the stuff that lends itself to do that. And Nathan Eovaldi very much has the stuff that lends itself to some swing and misses by some swing and miss heavy lineups. Even some not swing and miss heavy lineups, Nathan Eovaldi is going to generate some whiffs, because this guy has got just straight up diabolical level stuff. That is maybe not the best splitter in the game, but it is definitely up there in the conversation. I think it's basically him, and when Kodai Senga's healthy, Kodai Senga's Ghost Fork. I think those are the two best splitters in this game. Kevin Gossman also probably has a conversation to be had. Paul Skeens, if you count his sinker splinker as a true splitter, then maybe that's also in there as well. But this is as diabolical a pitch. This is as locked in a pitcher has been, and he just needed this get right game. I mean, this is a rough first couple of outings for Nathan Eovaldi on the season. I wasn't worried about him because he's Nathan freaking Eovaldi. He's been awesome for many years, but he got his 1500th strikeout in this one. Also got the win, which I think he probably cares more about than that 1500th career strikeout. But still, it's going to be some work for Nathan Eovaldi to get those numbers back into place. But if he keeps having starts like this, especially against teams who are still projected to make the postseason, it is going to be a great season for Nathan Eovaldi. Come up look a little bit at these standings, some projections, and why the Rangers need to finish off the sweep today, and more right after this.
Hey, this is Jeff Carr from Locked On Reds, and when it comes to our futures, we all have great ideas when it comes to our job, when it comes to our house, when it comes to our vehicles, all that great stuff. But honestly, when it comes to securing that future, I don't know what I don't know. And when me and my wife sat down to figure out the life insurance thing, Ethos made everything simple. Everything's online, you have a quick and easy application process, and you find out exactly what you need for coverage all in one spot. Ethos makes everything so convenient when it comes to learning about your own life insurance, because insurance is something that is far beyond batting average or on-base percentage. It's way out in left field for me. Ethos made it all easy. Take just 10 minutes and get covered today with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/lockedonmlb. That's ethos.com/lockedonmlb. Application times may vary and rates may vary.
Shout out to everybody for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I'll be back and talking about the final game of this series against the Seattle Mariners. If you want to be part of the Everydayers Club, go to LockedOnTexasRangers.supercast.com to join the Everydayers Club today. Now, this was a massive get-right game for Nathan Eovaldi and for this Rangers team that just had a really awful first series of the season at home. Just getting the series win, getting some wins banked at home. This is where the Rangers need to win. You need to win everywhere, but you also really especially need to be able to defend your home field, especially against big, tough teams like the Seattle Mariners, who will not be this bad for much longer. They are just too talented a baseball team to struggle and keep losing games. And these have been some close games, but you need to keep being able to win those close games, because right now the Mariners still, according to FanGraphs, are projected to win the division. They project the Mariners to have a 47% chance to win the division, despite being in, I guess, next to last place now in the AL West. The Athletics are 3-7 at this point. I don't know how, because they haven't been all that bad, but the Rangers right now sitting very briefly atop the standings. It's basically Memorial Day is the time where you can actually start to look at the standing and say, okay, this is actually starting to paint a fuller picture. But the Rangers right now have a 29.6% chance to win the division. They have a 20.4% chance to clinch a bye, and then a 56.8% chance to make the postseason. That is a great number at this point in the year. We're still just shy of 2 weeks into the season. It is all still very early, and the Rangers are about to have themselves a very difficult road trip coming up. They got 3 games against the Dodgers. They get 4 games in Sutter Health Park against the A's, the Athletics, the whatever they're calling themselves now, and then 3 more games against Seattle. Hopefully Seattle can continue to struggle for the next, 2 weeks or so until the Rangers face them again. Because if you can get 6 wins out of your first 6, if the Rangers can sweep this series, or at least get 5 out of your first 6 wins against the Seattle Mariners, and then half your series, basically half your games against the Seattle Mariners are already in the books, you have already banked those wins. That would be a hugely great thing for this Ranger squad at this point in the season, to be able to take advantage of a struggling Mariners squad and just get themselves a little bit of separation, get themselves a little bit of cushion if they have, some regression later on in the season, if they have some injuries that, befall them that kind of make them struggle a little bit more than they have to start this season. It is all very, very important. And to get a win against George Kirby, that's something the Rangers have never done. George Kirby, shout out to him. He had a great day for the most part. I mean, still ends up getting saddled with the loss, but a complete game, 8-inning loss, not something you see all that often. Not many pitchers are given the rope to, continue through 8 innings, but credit to them. They'll have their entire bullpen rested. The Rangers will not have their closer available to close out this series, but Jakob Junis, I think, is officially locked in as the Rangers closer. Just a little bit of drama in that one last night. His second save of the season, already a career high in saves for a season for Jakob Junis. Still has not allowed an earned run. Those two kids, neither of them were, particularly crushed by any means, just a couple of singles. Maybe would have been a double if not for Wyatt Langford's excellent effort out there in left field to go and chase down that ball and just fire a throw while he's falling down and still make an accurate throw to the shortstop and keep him from advancing, keep Luke Raley from advancing to second base on what normally with a average left fielder defensively probably would have been pretty comfortably a double. But I feel so confident with Jakob Junis in that 9th inning, just locking stuff down. No strikeouts for him in this one. There's gonna be some games where he gets some bad batted ball luck and he's going to blow some saves. It's going to be some weak contact that just, finds some holes. And, that's why ideally your closer doesn't really get subjected to that batted ball luck as much, because your ideal closer is someone like Mason Miller, who throws 116 miles an hour with a 217 mile an hour slider that this world has never seen before, and just gets swings and misses on basically every single pitch. That would be the ideal closer to have. But the Rangers did not want to give up their version of Leo DeVries to go get a Mason Miller, and I do not blame them for that, because I think Sebastian Walcott will provide more value for this Rangers squad than Mason Miller would over the course of 3-4 seasons, however long the Rangers would actually end up keeping him around. But getting a closer like that, getting a guy who has never been a closer, who has only had 2 career saves to that point, and has only really been a career reliever for now 2 seasons. This is the second season where maybe we end up seeing Jakob Junis as an opener. But last year was the first year in his career, his 9th season in the big leagues, that he did not start a single game. But sometimes the best closers are guys that were just kind of okay starters. That happens very, very frequently. It seems like Jakob Junis might be the next iteration of that. And a guy who also had started a game for the Rangers this season and has been fantastic in relief, was fantastic in his one start too, was Jacob Latz. 2 innings of just crushing these Mariners hitters. 2 perfect innings, 2 strikeouts, only needed 23 pitches to get through those 2 innings and save the Rangers from having to use more guys in their bullpen, because a lot of these guys had been, worked quite a bit in that game on Monday. Robert Garcia having to go in back-to-back days. Jakob Junis only needed 4 pitches to get the save in that game on Monday. I don't think we're going to see him pitch a 3rd day in a row, so he's almost assuredly not going to be in this game. But the rest of your pen is pretty much going to be available. Jacob Latz, he's not going to be available, but outside of those 2 guys, I'm pretty sure most guys will be available. Chris Martin hasn't pitched in a little while. Luis Crivello has not pitched since he got called back up to the big leagues. I think Jalen Beeks and Tyler Alexander will probably both be available, but Chris Martin as well. We'll see if we see him in any kind of leverage situation, but stacking these wins and getting wins against George Kirby, something the Rangers had never done. He was 8-0 against the Rangers in his career before the start. He had an ERA of 1.03 and an 8-0 record against the Rangers before this game. Now he is 8-1 with a 1.31 ERA. The Rangers just barely ever got hits off of George Kirby. And this is a very, very good staff, and credit to this Rangers offense for doing enough in this one. You're not always going to be able to score 4, 5, 6, 17 runs. You're not always playing the Rockies or the A's. That's just not how the schedule always works out. But credit to them for winning these close games. This is something the Rangers have not done over the course of at least last season, especially. I mean, even in 2024, they were able to win when they had the lead heading into the 8th inning, because they had David Robertson and they had Kirby Yates, who were both absolutely fantastic in 2024. But last year, I mean, this squad was awful in the closer's role. No matter who was being thrown in there for the vast majority of the season, Sean Armstrong did a good job towards the back end of the year, and maybe he should have been closing from the start. But I mean, whoever the Rangers were trotting out there in the ninth inning, for the most part, it just was not working. Whether it was Danny Coulomb, whether it was Luke Jackson, whether it was Robert Garcia, or whoever else was jumping into that ninth inning, there was not a whole lot of success to be had there. And the Rangers, it seems like, at least right now, Jakob Junis is that option for the Rangers closer. And getting these close ones is just something you need to do if you're going to be a postseason team. Eventually, you're going to have a whole lot of close games. And I think towards the back end of this season, maybe this Rangers pen will look a little bit differently. Maybe we'll start to see a guy like Mark Church start to calm it down. Emiliano Teodo has got just some absolutely unbelievably nasty stuff. And if he can ever figure out how to throw strikes semi-consistently, or at least, stay near the zone, stay adjacent to the zone, and not walk a metric crap ton of batters, and have about as many hit by pitches as innings pitched like he does at this point in the year, we'll probably see Teodo at some point in this pen. Winston Santos, whenever he gets healthy, I think we'll see him at some point in this pen. Maybe even Jose Corniel, we will see at some point in this pen with some nastier, more swing and miss stuff that you're kind of looking for out of the back end of your bullpen. But this, don't get it twisted, it may be only April 8th as I'm recording this, but this is a massive, massive series win. And I'm really thinking that the Rangers need to go for the throat and get that sweep today. But the offense was also contributing in this one. I want to talk about what this offense did in this game and why it was so incredibly important to get contributions from the middle and bottom part of this lineup. All that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by Gametime. MLB season is back, and you can feel it. Fresh starts, big expectations, and that first crack of the bat. Whether it's a breakout rookie, a division race that goes down to the wire, there is nothing like being in the ballpark for it. The only problem, getting tickets can feel like a grind. Long queues, surprise fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why there's Gametime. The Gametime app gives advantage back to fans with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's simple to use. The Gametime guarantee means you get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. So what you see is what you pay, period. This year, I've gotten some great deals on some Mavs tickets through Gametime. It is the only way I get my tickets. Some great experiences getting to see Cooper Flagg in person with my brother on my birthday. Just an absolutely delightful experience that I got because of the Gametime app. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Now, this offense was struggling a little bit in this one, hitting into not just one, but two double plays. Just as soon as the Rangers felt like got a base runner, it was almost immediately erased. But fortunately, the Rangers were able to score just enough, stringing 3 of their 6 hits of the day all together at once. Jock Peterson reaching base yet again. He has bumped that batting average all the way up to 130 as opposed to the 0 that it was before. I believe it was Sunday. Good on Jock Peterson for continuing to reach base and also forcing a really errant throw, just hustling down the line, booking it. And Brandon Donovan, I think maybe might have had an extra half second to make that throw, but Jock Peterson looks a lot faster than he looked last year. And because he was booking it down the line, because he hit it in a way that was, difficult for Brandon Donovan to make the play there at third base, he chucks it into the seats, and Jock Peterson reaches base with an infield single and then advances 2-2 on that throwing error. And that throwing error was huge because if not for that, then there's no way in heck Evan Carter singling up the middle would have scored Jock Peterson, who was booking it from second base. And they did not end up really forcing a throw that was anywhere near competitive. And then credit to Evan Carter for working that really good at bat, getting a pitch that he can handle, a knuckle curve in the zone at the bottom, but right over the middle of the plate. He says, yep, that's good enough. I recognize that spin. I am going to go ahead and drive this thing right up the middle and do my job and get this run in, cut that deficit all the way down to 1 and reach base, and then maybe get myself into scoring position. Maybe Higgy can, knock one into the corner, and maybe I can score from first on a double by Higgy. But he did not need to sprint around the bases because Kyle Higashioka just absolutely obliterated this baseball. The second pitch of the at-bat throws him a sinker at the bottom of the zone, just a little bit below the zone, right over the middle of the plate. He fouls off at 96.8 miles an hour and then takes a little bit off of it and throws it just about as juicy of a sinker that did not sink. Kyle Higashioka said, I know what to do with this baseball. I'm going to go ahead and deposit this thing into the left field seats with some authority. 107.1 miles an hour. Kyle Higashioka absolutely obliterated this baseball. The only Texas Rangers player to have multiple hits in this one. Just not a great day offensively for the Rangers, but a good enough day offensively for this Rangers squad, getting some production out of the middle third of their lineup. The 5, 6, 7 hitters, all of them contributing to the only 3 runs that this Rangers team scored and dropping them all in the 5th inning right after Nathan Eovaldi had given up yet another run to make it a 2-run deficit, which with how George Kirby has dominated this Rangers squad, and I mean absolutely dominated them over the course of the last couple of years. I mean, Corey Seager also did not have himself a great day. He has not been hitting well at home. 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts, and the first one was on 3 straight pitches where he just looked flat out overmatched. I mean, Nimmo was also 0 for 4 in this one. He's been the Rangers' best hitter over the course of the first, week and a half, 2 weeks of this season. And even White Langford, who reached base on a single, was pretty promptly taken off the base pass with a Jake Berger ground into a double play. But the rest of this lineup did their job. The middle third of this lineup did their job. And that's why you want to have a deep lineup, because occasionally the guys at the top of your order, as good as they are, as good as Brandon Nimmo, Wyatt Langford, Corey Seager, Jake Berger are, occasionally they're going to have some days or some weeks or maybe even a month for some of them. Hopefully not Corey Seager. Seager's not the guy who slumps for an entire month. But most players occasionally will have a bad month. And that's why you need guys in the middle of your order like Jock, like Evan Carter, like Kyle Higashioka to come in and step up and occasionally just drop in some runs against a really tough starter. It's not like they just did this against, the number 5 starter and, the top 4 guys in your lineup just looked awful against a bad starter. This was a good starter, and the Rangers, credit to them, the last couple of days after they got, just completely shut down by a pretty decent Reg pitching staff, but, not the first couple. I mean, Rhett Lauder had himself a great day. I think he's a pretty solid pitcher, but, getting held down by Chase Burns when he's throwing 100, that's fine. But getting held down in the other game in that series against a starter who's not particularly great is just not a great look. And the Rangers offense, said, hey, well, occasionally there's going to be some good pitchers. Occasionally we're going to have to figure out how to score runs off of good pitchers. And especially if you want to win the postseason, which this team wants to make it to the postseason and then win in the postseason, you're going to be facing nothing but the best hitters. And the Rangers, credit to them, they took advantage of the very few opportunities they had with runners in scoring position. They got 1 for 2 with runners in scoring position. One of those hits was the Evan Carter single right up the middle. And that was it. That was all the Rangers needed. They needed the one hit and then a bloop and or a dinker, a drive, and a blast. That was the entirety of the Rangers scoring. Came off of 3 consecutive hits in the 5th inning. And sometimes that's all you get. And sometimes that's all you need. When you have a pitching staff like this, like Nathan Eovaldi, Jacob Latz, Jakob Junis, I think there might have been a provision in Jakob Junis' contract that the Rangers said, okay, we have only 2 Jacobs on this pitching staff. We need a third after losing Jacob Webb. We have a Jacob deficit, and the Rangers went out and got themselves what seemed to be a little bit better of Jacob. No shade to Jacob Webb, who is a fine reliever back then. But this is the kind of thing that you can do when your offense is good enough. This is what the Rangers offense needs to be. It needs to be good enough. It doesn't need to score 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 runs a game. It doesn't need to be the 2023 Texas Rangers squad that, it felt like every, 5th game or so, they'd be dropping a 15 runs or, 10 runs in an inning and just absolutely obliterate an entire pitching staff for, a whole series of just knocking starter and reliever after reliever after reliever out and just forcing the entirety of a team's bullpen to throw in a single game because they just could not retire these Rangers hitters. It does not need to be that for this team to win 85 to 90 games that it'll take to make it into the postseason. This starting pitching staff is flat out insane. I mean, the amount of strikeouts that they're getting at this point is just unreal. Now, one of my bold predictions was that the Rangers would have 4 starters with a sub-3 ERA, and right now they have 1. They have Jack Leiter with a 2.45 ERA. They have 4 guys with a sub-4 ERA. Mackenzie Gore just barely below 4. Jack Leiter now at 2.45. Jacob DeGrom at 3.7, and Kumar Rocker at a 3.6. But they have 4 guys in their starting rotation, their top 4, who have more than 11.5 Ks per 9. All of them have more than 11.5 Ks per 9. That is not something any Ranger starter has done in a long, long time. Jacob DeGrom right now at 12.1 Ks per 9. Jack Leiter leading the American League at 13.9 Ks per 9. Mackenzie Gore at 12.7. And Nathan Eovaldi, even with all his struggles, still at 11.7 Ks per 9. Now, Rocker down there at 5.4. I think that'll trend upwards. He got a lot more swings and misses that probably should have led to a few more strikeouts. But even he, with your number 5 starter in your rotation, has a 3.6 ERA and, has looked pretty darn good. That is the strategy. That is the way to build a rotation that can win you a whole lot of baseball games, even when your offense isn't just knocking the doors down. All you have to do is score 3, 4, 5 runs a game. And that more times than not will be enough to get wins, and especially get some series wins, even against some of the toughest teams in baseball. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.